So did somebody say go live yet?
We're
Oh,
good. We're live.
We're live, Dan?
Yes.
Okay. Let's call the February 16th, 2021 meeting of the High Point Regional High School Board of Ed to order. Have flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible,
indivisible,
liberty and justice for all.
Come
on, together, guys.
That's tough to do. Okay, let me read the Open Public Meetings Act statement. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of the Act, the Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted at the Augusta, Branchville, and Sussex post offices, and notice sent to the New Jersey Herald, the Advertiser North, and the clerk of the boroughs of Branchville and Sussex, and the townships of Frankfort, Lafayette, and Wantage. Our mission statement. High Point Regional High School, in partnership with staff, family, and community, is dedicated to the quest for individual excellence. By fostering high standards of achievement, we prepare students to become responsible and productive members of a diverse society. Ms. Palchik, may I have roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Mrs. Anderson,
Here.
Mr. Klein,
Sorry, present.
okay. Ms. Nugent,
Here.
Mr. Carrazza,
Present.
Ms. Smith,
Here.
Ms. Tadona,
Here.
Dr. Kehoe,
Present.
Mr. Arnold,
Here.
Mr. Dunn.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, so we are going to enter executive session. A motion will be made that the High Point Regional High School Board of Education enter executive session to provide an update on negotiations, legal, and personnel items which are exempt from public participation pursuant to New Jersey Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, Open Public Meetings Act. Any discussions held by the board which need not remain confidential will be made public when appropriate. Minutes of the executive session will not be disclosed until the need for confidentiality no longer exists. The board will reconvene in public session virtually at the conclusion of the executive session. It is not anticipated that any action will be taken. And we anticipate to return approximately 7 p.m. May I have a motion?
Motion.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Seeing none, we will now enter executive session.
Okay, we're good.
Okay, since we're live, I'd like a motion to return to public session.
Motion?
May
Motion.
I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we are now in public session. We have no unfinished business on the agenda. So I will move to approval of minutes. Ms. Halsek, would you lead us through the approval of our
Absolutely.
minutes?
We have the regular meeting minutes from the January 26, 2021 meeting. It is going through, of course, the agenda items and each of the votes. And then we have the executive session minutes that currently are for the board, but not ready for public review. And that covered legal matters and also negotiations.
Okay, can I have a motion for approval of the minutes?
Motion.
A second?
Second.
Second.
Any discussion on the regular minutes or the executive session minutes?
I have a question I'm a little confused on. The finance section were read to be as recommended by the superintendent, but the minutes don't reflect that. And I noticed this month's finance action items do not indicate they're recommended by the superintendent. And I'm just curious as to why.
Bill, I asked that question at a committee meeting. I was concerned myself with the fact that the language was not consistent throughout the entire agenda. But the minutes themselves don't read like that ever. They just say it was approved, it was approved, it was approved. The minutes don't ever say it was approved because the superintendent recommended it. And although I would still like to see consistency in the language of the agenda, very much I would like to see that because it confuses me. The actual minutes don't have anything to do with how the motion was read.
Debbie, actually, they do. All the other sections start off by saying the minutes as recommended by the superintendent were approved, except finance.
I'm sure that is
I,
an oversight.
I can report that Fran has just told me that she was instructed that when it came to finance, that it did not have to mirror the recommendation, just that the board had approved it. When we send it as an extract, because we often do that with financials, it did not need to have that language. If the
I don't
board wants
understand
us
what that
to
means.
include that, I don't think that that would be a problem.
Okay, if we could amend the minutes, I would appreciate it.
Okay, so Mr. Kehoe, you'd like a motion to amend the minute? The
Yes, I'd
regular
like to make a
session?
motion to amend the regular meeting minutes to indicate that the finance actions were approved based on the recommendation of the superintendent.
Anyone want to second that motion?
Thank you.
Debbie seconds. Do we have any discussion on that or? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Okay, so the minutes, the regular session minutes have been amended. So may I have a motion now to approve the amended regular session meeting minutes of January 26th and the executive session minutes of January 26th?
I will move those.
In a second,
I will second it. Second.
any discussion? Seeing none, can I have roll call, please?
Absolutely. Dr. Kehoe,
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Klein,
Yes.
Ms. Nugent,
Yes.
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Caraza,
Yes.
Ms. Tadona,
Yes.
Mr. Arnold,
Yes.
Mr. Dunn,
Yes.
all minutes approved.
Okay, after approval of minutes, we proceed to public comments on agenda items only. In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, we will open the public comments for agenda items only at this time. Each speaker should state his or her name and address. You will have 3 minutes to address the board, which will be timed by the board president. We will limit this section to no longer than 45 minutes. Please be respectful and mindful that your comments are being recorded. So tonight we have 2 options for public comments to be made. Public comments may be submitted as they had been in the past via our YouTube comments, and they will appear in a document that will be read by myself, the board president. We also now have the ability to have public comments be read by the commenter themselves. If you wish to do so, there's a link now posted that will allow us to admit you into our Zoom meeting so you can make those comments. Mr. Yardley, do we have anybody that's been admitted that I'm missing?
No, nobody on the Zoom meeting.
Okay, and I'll check our document, and it does not appear there's any public comments there either. I'm going to give us a couple more minutes because we're just now at a little past 7 o'clock, to see if anybody comes on. Hopefully you don't mind. As always, just a reminder, we have a second public comment session later in our agenda, not restricted to agenda items. If you missed this particular session, feel free to join later and submit your public comments then. Still not seeing anybody, correct, Mr. Yardley?
Correct.
Okay, I'm gonna move that we close public comments. May I have a motion to close public comments?
Motion.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed to closing public comments? Okay, public comments, agenda items only is closed. We will now proceed to presentations. First up, we have listed Eliza Laufer, our Speaker of the House of the Student Council. I do not see her present, so I'm going to guess she is not going to be giving us a presentation. Correct, so next up then is the HPEA, Ms. Carla Mancuso, HPEA President, will update us on, update the Board of Education on HPEA items. Mrs. Mancuso.
Hi, folks. I hope everybody's well. Our HPEA has been working closely with the administration, specifically Dr. Ripley, in communication as far as everything that's changing with the CDC guidelines. I mean, you have to really be, I don't know what you have to be today. Thank goodness I got my mother in to get her shot, which was this past Monday. You had to be a tech person and employed all my Trenton State affiliates to text when things got open. It's incredible that we're dealing with this now, but I thank God for that. And I hope everybody else is being able to get in line and get their shots. And that's another concern as far as reopening full time. We will continually to work with our administration, and we just ask that communication as things change. I know we're not mind readers and certainly not Mother Nature. Look what she did to us today in another round on Thursday. So want to thank all our teachers. I mean, because we are open because of the teachers being able to be flexible, remote, losing power, losing internet. I mean, I feel like we're on some kind of ship that's going somewhere. But we appreciate all the communication. And again, teachers are concerned that we are on the front lines, and we are an older staff, believe it or not, and concerned about exposure. Especially, epidemiologists, they go long-term studies. So all the data comes out and you say, well, Dr. Fauci, he says this and so says that. But there's no longitudinal studies, and that's what epidemiologists base their diagrams on as far as what is safe and not safe. I'm not questioning that because I'm not, I don't have the degree in that, but it's just, there is concerns, and we just hope that when something new comes out that we're all on the same page and be able to adjust like we have been. It's unprecedented times, and again, like to thank the staff and admin, and keep us all safe, and you for your services also. It's just every minute something new comes out, and it's scary, especially with the variants, the different variants of the virus, and nobody knows. So that's what our concerns are at this point in time, because our communications are open with Dr. Ripley, and we do appreciate it. And that's what we have to say at this point in time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Mancuso. And the negotiations committee is looking forward to our first meet and greet Thursday, which will be virtual for various reasons.
12 feet of snow. 12 inches, I'm sorry, 12 inches of snow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Miss Lindsay Leduc-Young, who will provide us the principal's report and athletics report.
Hi,
Yeah.
good evening,
Hi.
everyone. I'm happy that you're all here. Hopefully everybody's staying nice and warm. It was a beautiful day outside, I have to say. I went out and 40 degrees felt like 80 today for some reason, but so not looking forward to Thursday, but we'll see how it goes. All right. So just a couple things in reference to school events. Guidance is definitely in full effect with scheduling mode. So we're definitely working with our sending districts. We've had some great collaboration with them. In February and March, we're doing in-house scheduling and incoming 8th grade scheduling with counselors. So most of it is scheduled virtually, obviously, like the rest of the school year. But everything is going well. We have our first virtual 8th grade open house on Thursday, February 18th at 7 p.m. And then we have a snow day on the 22nd at 7 p.m. So we're hopeful it is going to be virtual. We're hoping that some of our administrators can be in person to have some Q&A with students, still virtual, but we're going to make the best of it, just like everything else. As for school accomplishments, so our theater students were finally, I worked very closely with Teresa Riccardi, finally able to do their fall play in January, Kodachrome. So it was virtually. Unfortunately, they didn't have an in-person audience, but they were able to have a virtual audience, and the kids were really excited to be able to perform. So fingers crossed for the spring. We're not sure what it's going to look like, but hopefully they still have the opportunity to perform. So that was a great thing. Congratulations to our Rotary students of the month. Well, for the last 3 months. So it was Jalen Morales, Leah Ruvo, and Sammy Perez. Congratulations to our students for the second marking period. So I'm going to quickly run off some names for our second marking period students. And that was, they were. So our principal student of the month was Stephen Dong. Business department was Nora Ricker. English, Hope Marjoram. PE, Sarah Barino. Health was Madison Talamay. History was Sarah Hanold. Math was McKenna Percy. Performing arts was Veronica Pagliaro. Science was Chase Crisanda. Technology studies was Matthew Frieda. Visual arts is Erica DeGeorge, and world language was Preston Chirac. So congratulations to them on being the student of the month for the second marking period in those specific departments. All right, congratulations to our art students. They were recognized, National Art Honor Society students. They were recognized for publishing some artwork nationally. So we definitely want to thank Kelly Sheenice, Erin Myers, Lisa Hodgins, Jeremy Deeroff, and James Seck for their work and dedication with our students. They submitted some work to celebrating art, and they're going to be included in their 2020 publication. So that's exciting. And the students are Erica DeGeorge, Brianna Dunn, Angelina D'Erasmo, and Esther Schweinberg. And I mean, the artwork is absolutely phenomenal. So if you have a chance, I'm sure they're available somewhere. Amanda Nelson was also another student who had some great artwork. So all 5 of those students are being recognized. And then congratulations to Sammy Perez for All Eastern Treble Choir. So it's the highest honor ensemble for a choral student that they can achieve. So she is going to audition. Well, she auditioned and ranked first in the state in alto 2 and performed as part of the 2019 All-State Choir. In addition, she had to prepare a resume showcasing all of her musical experience up to this point, and over 1,200 students applied for this opportunity from 13 states. So congratulations to her. I thought that was awesome, especially with the small number of students that are recognized. So that's what I have for the principal's report. For athletics, I have Victoria Harnett. She is our National Girls and Women in Sports nominee. Alex Buchwald, he was selected as one of the 94 Mini Max High School Award winners in New Jersey. For our athletic team updates, girls basketball is 2 and 3, boys basketball is 1 and 3, bowling 0 and 3. Skiing competed at the Petro Invitation yesterday, and ice hockey is 3-3 and 1. We want to recognize Jesse Strell. He earned his 100th career win coaching boys basketball, so kudos to him. Our athletes of the week, so week 1 was Devin Haynes and Henry Cardinal, and week 2 was Brandon Kubiak and Noel Gaffney. So congratulations to them as well. And for participation numbers in season 2, we have boys basketball, 34 athletes, girls basketball, 27 athletes, skiing, 12 athletes, ice hockey, 10 athletes from High Point, bowling, 13 athletes, and swimming, 14 athletes from High Point. I was going to try my best to remember all of this, but I couldn't, so I had to print it out on paper. So that's what I have for tonight. It's very nice to see you all, and yeah, I hope you all have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Next presentation we have is by Mr. Seamus Campbell, who will present to the board matters related to curriculum and instruction. Mr. Campbell. See your presentation.
Mr. Dunn, do you see my presentation?
Yes, yes, it's now full screen.
Great, fantastic. Full screen?
Yes.
Great. I think I see Ms. LeDuc Young in the background of that photo going for a walk earlier today. It was indeed a beautiful one. February is Black History Month, and we're very proud of the efforts that we're making to make American history inclusive. This recognition of African-American contributions to our country began in 1926, unofficially. Dr. Carter Woodson, a Harvard historian, began it, and then President Ford in the 1970s officially made it National Black History Month. Students did an asynchronous activity where they read and watched and wrote about African-American contributions. Ms. LeDuc Young has spearheaded much of our efforts. That's a bulletin board that she created and a snapshot from one of her emails that she sends out once a week, trying to kind of raise awareness and collectively help our entire student body to celebrate Black history. It is also something that is being addressed and celebrated in individual social studies classes. So we're kind of having a nice time celebrating that aspect of February. As Ms. LeDuc Young mentioned, we have scheduling, which is underway. On our website, 3 quick clicks: academics, curriculum, and then scheduling, and it will take you to a myriad of documents. Some are excerpts from the program of studies, which was approved last week. So I want to thank Mr. Carter, Mr. Talamay, Mr. Diodino, Mr. Drellick, Mr. Dexter, our admin team, and our guidance counselors basically have put a lot of work into the scheduling process, and we're excited to begin that process and have our students make really tough decisions, choosing from a fantastic, menu of electives. Assessments are one of the many things that have been more than a little bit difficult during the pandemic. We had set up for the PSATs for all students in grades 9, 10, and 11 on January 26th, but January 26th was a Tuesday this year, and like every Tuesday this year in the winter, we get clobbered with weather. So that was canceled. State testing is technically still on track. Formerly known as PARC, the New Jersey Student Learning Assessments are scheduled to occur in April or May, with a little bit of a wink and a caveat from Trenton to kind of hold off right now, because we may see them waived like they were last year. Nonetheless, we have to prepare to administer them in the spring, and so we are preparing for that, but we still think there's a chance that they may be waived for this year like they were last year. We offer more AP courses and have more AP students take tests than any school in our region. And this year, AP is having 3 test administrations. So they're allowing individual students or teachers or schools to choose from 3 separate 2-week windows, or to choose all 3. It's a bit challenging. I want to thank Mrs. Walton for her efforts as our AP coordinator. She does an amazing job organizing the entire AP testing structure. She and I met with all of our AP teachers. We surveyed them, and we're meeting with them again next week. And we have a lot of choices, a lot of decisions to make. When in the window we're going to test, to what extent we have financial resources to assist and subsidize assessments. Will we require every student in every class to test as we have in the past, or will we be increasingly flexible with that? So we have a lot still to decide. Our AP teachers are incredibly committed. I want to thank them for teaching an incredibly demanding course during what is a challenging time. So we're in the process of making those decisions right now. This is our annual report on our district-wide self-assessment on the Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights, which has now been around for 17 years. This board policy was originally adopted in 2003. It's hard to believe it's been that long, but it's now a fabric of how we support students, and it's kind of second nature. I serve as the anti-bullying coordinator. I want to thank Mr. Jim Rice, who's our anti-bullying specialist. I also want to thank Ms. LeDuc Young and Mr. Talamay, because student conflict very often originates in the main office. So oftentimes a incident between 2 students, which ends up being a HIB investigation that Mr. Rice does, really takes its first steps in the main office, where our assistant principal kind of deals with that conflict. So thank you to those administrators as well. I think we know this, but very quickly, what is a HIB? A HIB is an act, a gesture, written, verbal, physical, or electronic, defined by statute, where it has a reasonable likelihood of being perceived as motivated by a distinguishing characteristic. When 2 students are in an argument and the power between them is relatively equal, that's basically conflict, or it's a violation of our code of conduct. HIB is essentially when power is used to degrade or demean or to hurt another individual according to a distinguishing characteristic. There has to be a connection to school. We have been forced to now take on incidents that occur between students off campus, but there has to be a link back to school. So a student-to-student conflict on a Saturday night very well could have a connection to the learning environment, or very well could not have a connection. And we make that distinction when we do our investigations. It's called the nexus, right, between the activity and the school. If it has a significant and negative impact on the learning environment, there is a nexus between what happened off school grounds and school. Every year, we review what we're doing. We try and improve. We educate students and staff. We also score ourselves as we are required to do. And this year we scored ourselves 74 out of 78. And there were 2 areas that we chose that we wanted to focus on for improvement. We have increased professional development, and we will be providing additional professional development. And our students, one of the things I'd like to highlight is Mrs. Donna Lembo, who is the oversees our Students Against Violence Everywhere group. They've recently surveyed every student at High Point to ask them about the climate, how safe they feel, to what extent they believe cyberbullying is a problem, and what they believe High Point could do to make our climate stronger, safer, and more inclusive. So making students aware of the HIB process, making sure that they have a voice to express concerns, directing them to resources, and providing training to staff is a key component. We're also required twice a year to report on our HIBs. Now, that may seem redundant because every single month this board receives, publicly publishes, and accepts the report on the previous month's HIBs. But here I'll give you a 6-month cumulative snapshot. From July through the end of 2020, we had 3 investigations. 2 of them were found to be code of conduct. 1 was unfounded, and we have not had any HIBs so far this school year. For comparison's sake, I thought I would put in last year's numbers. Last year, for the first semester, there were 4 HIBs. 4 more than we would like to have, but not an alarming number. And I say that because this gives you the view of the last 8 or 9 years, approximately how many investigations we do and how many confirmed HIBs we have each year. You'll see over the past 8 years, we have an average of, well, a range of between 2 and 7. We would like that number to be even smaller, but that is essentially where we're at. Now, obviously, we have a small number. We had a smaller number in 1920. And obviously, the fact that we have no HIBs right now is likely related to the fact that we're in a pandemic and we have a hybrid schedule. So that is the presentation of our self-assessment and our biannual report on HIBs. So that is that. And if anybody has any questions about that, I'd be happy to try and answer them.
Any questions for Mr. Campbell or Ms. Luduk Young? I forgot to ask if anybody had questions in her report. Thank you, Mr. Campbell. Oh,
I just want to say, it's not really a question, but the fall play that was out there last week or 2 weeks ago, it really was well done. Those kids did a fabulous job without having an audience, and I enjoyed it very much. And I sing praises to the students and all the adults that worked with them to get them that opportunity to be on stage and do what they love to do. So I thought it was great.
I will definitely share that with Mrs. Riccardi because they went through students who had to quarantine, students who were back in using understudies. It was definitely a challenge this year and they executed it very well. So thank you.
Nice.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson, and thank you, Mr. Campbell. So that concludes our presentations. We'll move on to other business. We have one topic there. Dr. Ripley, you're going to lead us in that discussion?
Yes, I just want to give the board an update on what our plans are. We have seen a regression in the COVID cases in our area. Last week rather, the case rate was 40.33. The following that was 2 weeks ago. Last week, the case rate was 26.79. So we're seeing it drop. We're still technically in what's referred to as the orange. But we were told more than a month ago that we were definitely in the red, and it never materialized. I'm not suggesting that it's not a concern. I'm just trying to give an update on, what the numbers are telling us. And so we continue to see a regression of the numbers. It's still something about which we are eternally vigilant. Having said that, we all acknowledge and believe that students with their peers and in front of a teacher are better served than either a hybrid or remote. So we are in the planning stages of considering possibly opening for 4 full days a week, inclusive of lunches, likely after spring break. We deconstructed rooms, and there needs to be some work done so that we can redistribute desks. But if things continue on the current trend, I believe that is our strongest course, and it would be reflective of the regression of the numbers. And so we're hopeful to be able to do that. That date, I believe, is April 12th. We had considered the 2 weeks prior to that, but we need the time to move the furniture. So once again, as I've said to the board since this began, our hope is to incrementally move forward. This is the next step in that incrementalism, and we really look forward to that. Kids being here 4 days a week, not 5, because we're still going to have the Wednesday virtual day for the cleaning. Not that we don't clean on the other days, always cleaning. But so that I'm hopeful you find that good news. I'm hopeful that the community finds that good news. Please understand that it is preliminary. I'm just telling you what we're planning for, and hopefully it does manifest in that time frame. We're very hopeful of that. I have discussed this with the administration and the association leadership and in committees. That's it.
Dr. Ripley, we've had a couple people speak to me, board members, about the possibility of our meetings being returned to in person as well.
Yeah, we can certainly. I'm sorry.
Could I ask you to look into if there what obstacles there may be to doing so? If we could possibly get back to that as of the March meeting. Again, it's a plan. Things could change, and if things go south with the virus, obviously, that could change. But I think just as students are eager, if parents are eager to get their children back in school, and students are eager to get back in school, I think it behooves us to return to an in-person session, if not by March, then possibly by April.
Yes, absolutely. We'll look into that. I just want to reiterate that we do have kids in 4 days a week, but they are not full days, so as to not have children eating, because that presents logistical problems that we are going to overcome and have them in at that time. But yes, right now we're open for kids to have a choice. Kids can be remote, kids can be 2 days a week, or they can be 4 days a week. But we will absolutely be prepared to provide any issues that may arise from March, but we'll plan for either option.
Yeah, I know we've got some technical things to sort out and such, so.
Yeah, we'll be ready.
Thank you. Anybody else on the board with comments about that discussion?
If I may, I just want to say, I believe at the beginning of the year, we set one objective for the administration, and it was to keep the school going during this pandemic. And I want to commend the administration for all the efforts they're doing in the focus and keeping it going. And also want to commend, and I'm sorry I didn't bring it up before, the teachers for their support. Every night I hear on the news all the other school districts around the country and the problems they're having because they don't have the support of the teachers. And I think the teachers and administrators have really worked well to give our students the best opportunity that they can. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I really, really do appreciate that. I think that, as we've stated before, the teachers have, it's a team effort, and the teachers and the administrators have been focused on doing what's best for kids. And I'm very pleased with the amount of time we've actually been in school relative to the amount of time that others have been in school. It's not ideal, and your heart breaks for it not being like everybody else's experience in high school, but that is our purpose. So I very much appreciate that. And I'm sure the administrators who work their tails off and the teachers all appreciate it, and they're too working their tails off. And it's a team effort. And thank you very much.
Anyone else? Yes, I'd echo Dr. Kehoe that we are fortunate. So with that, let's proceed to action items. First up under action items is curriculum, instruction, and technology. So may I turn that over to Mrs. Smith?
Okay, so we have action items 1, 2, and 3 are just recognizing the faculty attendance rate for January, which was 97.1%. Student attendance rate for January was 95.1%, and the suspension report attached. Then I'm going to move items 4 through 9 together. At number 4, it is recommended that the board approve the HID report for the period of January 26th through February 16th as attached. Number 5 is that we approve the curricular field trips listed as attached. Number 6 is that the board approve the professional development activities as listed on the attached roster. Number 7 is that the board approve the revised school year calendar, which reflects a tentative last day of June 15th due to an emergency snow closing on February 1st. Number 8, it's recommended that the board approve the dates for ESY or extended school year program for Friday, July 2nd through Friday, July 30th. And number 9, it is recommended that the board approve the anti-bullying Bill of Rights for 2019-2020 self-assessment as outlined, as was presented by Mr. Campbell. So I make a motion seeking a second.
Debbie, seconds.
Any
Second.
discussion? Okie dokie. Take it away, Ms. Pavlicek.
Ms. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Klein,
Yes. Sorry.
Ms. Nugent,
Yes.
Mr. Caraza,
Yes.
Ms. Tadona,
Yes.
Dr. Kehoe,
Yes.
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Arnold,
Yes.
Mr. Dunn,
Yes.
motion's carried.
Okay, moving on to personnel. Ms. Nugent.
I'd like to move item number 1. It is recommended by the superintendent that the Board of Education approves Mr. Kurt Walton as interim assistant principal from February 24th, 2021 through May 24th, 2021, or until return of current administrator at the per diem rate of $500. It is further recommended that Ms. Lindsay Leduc Young serve in the capacity of supervisor of pupil personnel services during the same time period. I'm making a motion and looking for a second.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Dr. Kehoe,
Yes.
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Caraza,
Yes.
Ms. Nugent,
Yes.
Mr. Klein,
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson,
Yes.
Ms. Tadona,
Yes.
Mr. Arnold,
Yes.
Mr. Dunn,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay, I'm going to move item number 2. It is recommended by the superintendent that the Board of Education approves Mrs. Raina Smith as third shift custodian at the annual salary listed on step 1, plus third shift differential prorated effective February 17th for the remainder of the 2020-21 school year. I'm making a motion seeking a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, roll call vote.
Dr. Kehoe,
Yes.
Ms. Tadona,
Yes.
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Caraza,
Yes.
Mr. Klein,
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson,
Yes.
Ms. Nugent,
Yes.
Mr. Arnold,
Yes.
Mr. Dunn,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay, and the last item, if I can get to it. I just went too far. Number 3, it is recommended by the superintendent that the Board of Education approves the following individuals as substitutes for the remainder of the 2020-2021 school year, pending receipt of all required paperwork. The teachers would be Brittany Curtis, Cassidy Doobie, Kelsey Murphy, and custodian would be Dwayne Sumal. I'm making a motion and looking for a second.
Second.
Discussion? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Klein,
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Caraza,
Yes.
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Tadona,
Yes.
Dr. Kehoe,
Yes.
Ms. Nugent,
Yes.
Mr. Arnold,
Yes.
Mr. Dunn,
Yes.
motion carries.
All right. Next, we have extracurricular, and forgive me, I forget if it was Mr. Arnold or Mr. Caraza that handles extracurricular.
That's me.
Mr. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Arnold.
So I will move item number 1, which is the only item. It is recommended by the superintendent that the Board of Education approves the following extracurricular appointments for the 2020-2021 school year. Elizabeth Sunda as assistant track coach, Christopher Dexter as head girls basketball, and Mark Russell as assistant volleyball coach at the rates listed. Make a motion seeking a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Dr. Kehoe,
Yes.
Ms. Tadona,
Yes.
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Caraza, Ms. Nugent,
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Klein,
Yes.
Mr. Arnold,
Yes.
Mr. Dunn,
Yes.
motion carries.
So we have no action items under policy. We have no action items under negotiation on which to vote. And we also have no action items under buildings and grounds on which to vote. But I'll allow anyone that would want to bring up any comments about those areas if they're so interested. Mrs. Anderson? Anything on buildings and grounds?
I'm gonna apologize, everybody. I'm a little under the weather today, so I keep turning my video off so you don't have to watch me moaning and groaning and closing my eyes. So, and now I just used all my energy telling you this. I don't want to say anything about buildings and grounds.
That's right. Sorry to put you on the spot.
It's okay.
So then let's move on to finance. Dr. Kehoe, if you would please.
I'm going to move items 1 through 5 together. Items 1, it is recommended by the superintendent that the Board of Education accepts the report of the board secretary / business administrator for the month of January 2021. Item 2, it is recommended by the superintendent that the Board of Education accepts the report of the treasurer for the month of January 2021. We hereby certify pursuant to NJAC 6A:23-2.111C3 that as of the date of the board secretary monthly financial reports, no budgetary line item account has encumbrances and expenditures which in total exceed the line item appropriation in violation of NJAC 6A:23-2.11A. Item 3, it is recommended by the superintendent that the Board of Education approves the report of transfers and the minimum expense transfer report for the month of January 2021. Item 4, it is recommended by the superintendent that the Board of Education approves the payment the attached schedule of audited bills dated February 16th, 2021. And 5, it is recommended by the superintendent that the Board of Education accepts the adult education agency account, athletic account, cafeteria account, principal's petty cash account, scholarship account, school store account, and student activities account, for the month of January 2021. Do I have a second?
Second.
Do we have any discussion on those 5 items? Hearing no discussion, can we have a roll call, please?
Ms. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Klein,
Yes.
Ms. Nugent,
Yes.
Peraza,
Yeah.
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Tadona,
Yes.
Dr. Kehoe,
Yes.
Mr. Arnold,
Yes.
Mr. Dunn,
Yes.
all motions carry.
Thank you. Item 6, be it resolved that the Board of Education gratefully accepts the donations listed below. Fujifilm school for the recipient is school programs, and there's a list of various Fujifilm cameras, lens, and other equipment that they've donated to us for the intended use of digital photography and AP studio art. And the second donation is from Chad Cowell for the Bradford Donadio Scholarship Fund and the scholarship for a student from class of 2021. I make that motion. Any second?
Second.
Any discussion? I'd like to mention, I think Ms. Anderson mentioned last month about the Bradford Donadio Scholarship Fund. That has been a long ongoing scholarship fund, and I give a lot of credit to Mr. Cowell and the people who have continued to donate to that fund to keep it going. And I think they should get some special recognition because that's a long-standing scholarship fund that the schools had. Any other comments? Hearing no other comments, roll call, please.
Tadona, Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Caraza,
Yes.
Ms. Nugent,
Yes.
Mr. Klein,
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson,
Yes.
Dr. Kehoe,
Yes.
Mr. Arnold,
Yes.
Mr. Dunn,
Yes.
motion carried.
Thank you. And then we'll move on to the last item. Item 7, it is recommended by the superintendent that the Board of Education approves and authorizes the execution of the following tuition contracts between High Point Regional High School as a sending district and the following districts and related information. The receiving district, Lakeland Andover School, student 220-00038, time frame 2020 through 2021 school year, but effective January 19, 2021, tuition cost of $29,760. I move that. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any comments? Hearing no comments, can I have a roll call, please?
Caraza,
Yes.
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Tadona,
Yes.
Mr. Klein,
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson,
Yes.
Ms. Nugent,
Yes.
Dr. Kehoe,
Yes.
Mr. Arnold, Mr. Arnold.
Sorry, yes.
Okay. I was looking for a thumbs up will work. Mr. Dunn,
Yes.
thank you. Motion carried.
All right, thank you, Dr. Kehoe.
Hey, Wayne,
Yes.
if we could back up to buildings and grounds for a minute, just so you guys know, we had a pre-construction meeting for the storage tank and everything went smooth. So it looks like when the snow is gone, things are going to get started with that.
Right. Oh, thank you for the update. Mr.
No
Klein.
problem.
Those buildings and grounds. Excellent. So then our last section of action items is transportation. Mr. Crosby.
I'm going to move items 1 through 4 together. Item 1, it's recommended the board approve the execution of the quoted contract for the remainder of the 2021 school year as listed. Item number 2 is recommended that the board approve the execution of the quoted contract for transportation for a student for a transition period for the 2020-21 school year as listed. Item number 3, it's recommended the board approves the execution of a joint transportation agreement for a special needs student for a transition period for the 2020-21 school year as listed. And finally, item number 4 is recommended the board approve the execution of the quoted contract for an athletic trip for the 2020-21 school year as listed. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, I'd ask for a roll call.
Anderson,
Yes.
Nugent,
Yes.
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Dr. Kehoe,
Yes.
Ms. Tadona,
Yes.
Mr. Klein,
Yes.
Mr. Caraza,
Yes.
Mr. Arnold,
Yes.
Mr. Dunn,
Yes.
all motions carry.
I do not believe we have any correspondence that needs to be brought up under correspondence.
Yes, we had an email after the board meeting last month that was going to be brought to today's correspondence, I believe.
Forgive me. I don't recall which. An email, was it for public, was it intended for public comments?
Yes. And they
Was-
couldn't get on
From
or something with that.
Gorman, was it regards to bonded jobs?
So my view on that was it was intended for public comments, and we've had one public comment session tonight, and we have a second public comment session tonight, where any member of the public is, if they weren't able to get in last meeting, are certainly permitted to make public comments this meeting. I don't happen to have it in front of me to read in any case, but it wasn't received necessarily as correspondence via post to the board office, correct? It was emailed in lieu of public comments at the last meeting.
Yes, Mr. Dunn, I don't have a copy of that. I didn't receive that to add it onto the agenda. Is that individual part of our audience that they could bring up the topic?
Yeah, I'd make that comment to the public if Mrs. Gorman is in attendance and wishes to have her public comments made. She has 2 ways to do so. We have very soon in our agenda, a second session of public comments where she could read the comments from last meeting that failed to make it through somehow, and or they could technically be submitted via the YouTube chat, although they were fairly lengthy, so I'm not sure that would.
Yeah, it was long.
If we could recommend to anyone who has a comment and they wish it to be included as correspondence, to direct it to me as the board secretary to ensure that we do, we look at it, we address it so that no one gets left out.
Very good. That went out to the public, so I don't think I need to repeat it. So with that, I'm going to move beyond correspondence to miscellaneous. The only item we have under miscellaneous was a note about school board mandated training. I believe we are on track with this. Last time I checked with our board secretary, we have until the end of the year, correct, to obtain any mandated training that any of us is required to obtain.
Yes, I signed everyone up who, whatever governance 1, 2, 3, or 4 that you may need to take. The financial disclosure statements, we will need to have those completed, but as of today, the state does not have that ready for us. So they will allow the necessary extra time so that board members can complete the paperwork without any kind of penalty. So when you do receive it, please answer it as accurately as possible, and send it back so that I can review it so we can get that done and over with.
Okay. That's it for miscellaneous. So we will then move on to our second session of public comments. Same rules apply as the first section. I won't reread them. And I'm going to look to Mr. Yardley to let me know if we have anyone that has come in. I thought I saw a name sitting in our waiting room. Is that correct?
There is nobody in the waiting room right now at all.
Oh, very nice. So that was a come and go. And I don't see anything as far as comments that have been submitted to the chat. Okay. Well, I think we've given the opportunity. I don't know that I needed to have a vote to close public comments, but since I did the first time around, I'm going to stay consistent. May I have a motion to close public comments, the second session?
I'll move to close public comment.
And a second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor of closing public comments?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
The ayes
Good.
have it.
So now we have non-committee board member reports or comments, if anyone is so inclined.
I would like to, I think one of our students deserves a shout out. Last night there was a nationally broadcast wrestling tournament, and one of High Point's wrestlers entered the tournament at 182 pounds, and he won his weight class in true fashion, beating the Blair wrestler, who came down from 195 to 182 just to wrestle him. And the Blair wrestler was ranked 3 in the nation and has already committed to go to wrestle at Cornell. And our Brian Saldano not only beat him, he pinned him in 47 seconds. So if anybody knows wrestling, they know that it was the screaming and shouting was amazing. The High Point's name was used, was put out there across the nation as well recognized, and he really represented us very well. So I think I'd like to give a special shout out to Brian Saldano and congratulate him on his big win.
Was he also selected as one of the wrestlers of the match?
He was the outstanding wrestler for the upper weights, yes.
Congratulations, Mr. Saldano. Any other non-committee board member reports or comments? If not, we have one last item under other business for the purpose of public disclosure in accordance with the Open Public Records Act. The High Point Regional High School Board Office has received and responded to the following OPA requests over the past month. And the board will continue to provide this information on a monthly basis. And Ms. Pavlicek, I think we have not received any.
Correct.
Correct. So that is an empty other business, unfortunately. But with that, we conclude. And I'd ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? We are adjourned. Have a great night, everyone.
Thank you. You too.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.